adjacent to R, which is 11, over the hypotenuse, which is still 61. And for the tangent, it's the side opposite R, which is 60, over the adjacent, which is 11. And again, you can leave it like that. Same thing with number 5 as with number 4. If you missed one of these, one of the 6 minus half. If you missed more than 2, then the whole thing's wrong. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing for number 6. For number 6, so I got to erase this over here and look at number 6. Same thing with number 6. We're going to do angle P first. Sine, cosine, tangent. So we're looking at angle P. Go ahead and identify that the side opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse. So here's your hypotenuse. Here's angle P. Okay. For the sine, it's the side opposite P, which is going to be 28, over the hypotenuse, which is 53. And there's your sine. For the cosine, it's the side adjacent to P, which is going to be 45. It can't be 53 because that's the hypotenuse. So the side adjacent is 45, and the hypotenuse is 53. And then for the tangent, it's the side opposite, which is 28, over the side adjacent, which is 45. And there's your first 3 answers for angle P. Now I got to do the same thing again, except for angle R. So here's my angle R. So it's going to be the sine, the cosine, and the tangent. So for angle R, the sine is the side opposite, which for R is going to be 45, and the hypotenuse is still 53. For the cosine, it's going to be the side adjacent, which the side adjacent to R is 28, equals the side opposite, which is x, what we're trying to find, over the side adjacent, which is 12. So on your calculator, and you have to use your scientific calculator for this one. On your calculator, you would hit, for mine, I type in the angle measure and then I hit tangent. So I've got 0.2867. So I'm going to say 0.2867 equals what over 12? And then I'm going to ask myself, what's being done to x? Well, it's being divided by 12. What's the opposite of dividing by 12? Multiplying by 12. So I'm going to take my 0.2867 and multiply by 12, and I've got my answer. And it says round to the nearest thousandth. So as long as you got something close, I'm going to put 3.44 for my answer. So 3.44 equals x here. So as long as you got something close to 3.44. All right, number 13. I'm looking at number 13 now. All right, number 13. And I know yours says 3.441 right here, but as long as you got somewhere close to that. Okay, number 13. We know we're trying to find x, which is the hypotenuse here, and we know this angle measure. So what do we know in relation to this angle measure? We know the side opposite, and we need to know the hypotenuse. So which of the three ratios has the side opposite and the hypotenuse? And if we look, it's the sine. So I'm going to take the sine of angle 43, and that's going to equal the side opposite, which is 9, over the hypotenuse, which is x. Okay, and this one ends up being a little bit different. We're going to actually end up working backwards again on this one. So the sine of 43, so I'm going to type that in on my calculator, and I get this, 0.68199. So I'm just going to say 0.682. 0.682 equals 9 divided by x. Okay, now be careful here. We're going to end up cross multiplying and dividing. So 0.682 times x equals 9. So I'm going to take 0.682 times x, which I end up, I'm going to bring it over here. So I get 0.682x equals 9. So then now ask yourself what's being done to x. X is being multiplied by 0.682. What's the opposite of multiplying by 0.682? Dividing by 6.82. So this one probably threw some of you off because I ended up with my variable in the denominator instead of the numerator like the other ones. Okay, so be careful here. This is the way you have to do it because the x ended up here. So I cross multiplied 0.682 times x, which is 0.682x, and that equals 9. So I'm going to end up actually taking 9 and dividing it by 0.682. And then I get 13.19, and they put 0.197. I'm just going to put 13.196. Okay, so here I get 13.196, as long as you got something close to that. And I wouldn't be surprised if quite a few people missed this one because I ended up with my variable in the denominator instead. So you would have had to actually go back to the very beginning of the year, to the first semester when we were talking about cross multiplying and dividing. And now equals 7 over what? I have to cross multiply here, so I get 0.7 times x equals 7. And then ask yourself what's being done to x. It's being multiplied by 0.7. What's the opposite of multiplying by 0.7? Dividing. Okay, so I end up having to do 7 divided by 0.7, and I get 10. And is that an answer option? Yes, it is. B is 10. So again, you want to be careful here when the variable ends up as the denominator, because you end up having to do something different than we did in number 14 and number 12. So be careful there. On number 16, it says describe and correct the error made in finding the length of the side LK. Okay, so they're trying to find LK, which is x. They know the hypotenuse, they know the adjacent, okay, but we're looking at 25. And I need to know either the opposite over the adjacent, or I need to know the opposite over the hypotenuse, either one of those. So they set it up like this: tangent, which is opposite over adjacent. And they put the tangent of x, and so opposite, which that is opposite of 25, over 15, except 15 is the hypotenuse. And the tangent ratio is the side opposite over the side adjacent. So they used the wrong number here. They should have put over 13 instead. So as long as you put something close to that, you got that correct. Now, going to the last couple test review tomorrow before I get it back to you to study for the test. So hold on to your homework. Just make sure you write minus